Hi everyone, a very warm welcome back to my channel, Nellie the Narcissist. Thank you so much for joining today. And this is episode 2 of my series, Resident Evil. This is a series that's all about sharing survivor stories, but it's not just any stories, because these are the ones that go deeper than most. Stories where people like myself, we started to sense or even see that something else was going on behind the narcissist. Something spiritual, something that was hidden, and something very, very dark. And if this is just all psychosis, like some people say, then why do so many of us tell the same stories? The patterns are actually way too clear to ignore. And in today's episode, I'm actually speaking with a woman who said when she emailed me that she danced with the devil for 30 years. She was married, you see, to a malignant narcissist, and he wasn't physically abusive, but he was emotionally, mentally, and spiritually abusive. It wasn't actually until she became sick, when her body finally said no, that she was forced to stop and start asking deeper questions to what was going on, because things didn't make sense. And that illness was her wake-up call, and it sent her on a powerful healing journey towards finding the truth that she didn't see before. And this narcissist did not want her finding the answers, and he tried his best to steer her away from what he knew would help her. He purposely did not want her doing any kind of investigation on herself that was connecting deeply with the root of who she was. He didn't want her doing any natural medicine, any spiritual level analysis, or any energetic healing. He wanted to discourage those things. Why? Because he knew that if she started that process, it was going to be game over for him and he was going to be exposed. And to quote something that you may have heard, your healing is offensive to those that profit from your brokenness. And this is so true for narcissistic relationships of any kind. The narcissist does not have your best interests. They want you broken because through your disconnection, you're not going to be whole. And you will not be healed, which means to them that it's game on, because you're not going to be in your power. And what really echoes through this story is that narcissists, they thrive on your disconnection from yourself. They want you confused and off-center. They want you cut off from your inner knowing, because that's how they keep control. When you start connecting with yourself, you start seeing the truth. They don't want that. They need your energy. That's why. And they're going to quietly drain you until there is nothing left. But here's the good news. Your power, it lies in reconnecting with you, with your higher self, with the divine spark inside of you. And this survivor found out that light through her illness. In doing so, she saw what was hidden in plain sight. It's all along. It was there all along. And I truly hope that her story brings you insight or even inspiration. And if it resonates, then please do give it a like, share it, and drop me a comment below, because this really helps others to find this message too. And to the men watching, this isn't just for women, because narcissistic abuse happens to everybody, as we know, in all kinds of relationships. It's not only heterosexual, and this series also expands to anybody that has had an experience with a narcissist that was otherworldly. It's not limited only to romantic relationships. It could be with a family member or even a friend. So if you have a story that you'd like to share with me, then reach out. And although this survivor today wanted to be on camera, you don't have to be on camera. I read your stories also for you, and everything is totally anonymous. No names are used. It's a real honor for me to give survivors a voice on this subject. So please, for anybody watching, be kind in the comments and very respectful, because these stories are sacred to every single person that shares, and it takes a lot of courage to come forward and actually reveal them. You may not always resonate with everything, but it is my wish that there is something inside these stories that will be healing for everybody. So let's dive in now to the discussion I had in hearing this survivor story.
I think we were both around 19, 20 years old. I had a fiance in the beginning when we met, and the fiance took everything and left back to Australia. And I was very weak and vulnerable. And let me just say, from the very beginning, when I was born, I was very spiritual, very challenged all religions, knew it was a personal journey. So I was very strong in that respect. But I was at a very weak and vulnerable moment, and my ex came into the picture, and from then on it was like boom, fast. We moved in right away. We were engaged for quite a while, and then we were married for quite a while before we had children. So about 9 years before we had children, and it was like fighting to have children. And the reason I was given was, well, I don't want to share you with anyone. So all these little signs were always there. The typical scenarios of living with a malignant narcissist occurred. There were a lot of times that I couldn't figure it out, beat my head against the wall, tried to fix everything. Had 2 beautiful children despite this. And there was no physical harm, but mental abuse and gaslighting, manipulation, all of the things that you know. And then after 30 years, and after my husband at the time, all of his parents had died, he became a totally different human. And there were little signs, but we don't think that someone that we've chosen as a life partner who you have children with is going to be someone that wants to destroy you. But that is exactly what was happening. And I believe that it was my moments of true sick illness that my subconscious said, hey, wake up. What are you doing? You know, and that's the only time I really was aware of myself and going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Whoa. And in my true self, I confronted this person, and it again and again, dupe. And I don't think it was until I really started to detangle myself from this person thing. And it took me years of research and searching. And I also had an oracle healing and a shamanic healing. And incidentally, both of them had to bring in help because there were a lot of cords that they both said, neither of them knew each other, different parts of the world, silver cords of attachment that were not only from my life, but from past lives. Whether you believe that or not, I don't care. I do. And so after that, all of that happened, it was my true self. And there was nothing, it was almost like, you know, all I can think of is something trying to get in, and it just couldn't get in. It just couldn't get in anymore. Like nothing was working for them. But at the same time, I was denying myself and just like, keeping that at bay. So there wasn't a balance. And after 30 years, you know, it takes a long time to heal from that. I don't know whether I'm healed or not. I'm still triggered, but I almost killed myself trying to fix something that I had no idea I was dealing with. So I like how, Nellie, you put it when you said, you know, it's a soul confrontation is basically what it is. It's not 2 humans. It is a soul confrontation. And there are definitely evil behaviors in demonic, which comes from a true negative fear-based energy. And as an energy light worker, whatever you want to say, because energy, as we know, never dies, it just changes form.
Yeah.
That was so empowering for me when I started practicing my own lessons and my own information. I was like, poof. And then you go through the same thing we all do when we have grief, you know, denial and fear and, oh my gosh, I should have done this, blah, 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 blah. To be honest, it doesn't matter who you are, how spiritual you are, what a wonderful person you can be. You can still be duped 1,000 times. And again, you'll still be duped. And you'll think, why did I step into that pothole?
The spiritual signs that you received in that relationship, if you can recall, I know that one was the black eyes. If you can say those pinpoints when you understood that you were dealing with something way more than just a toxic, abusive person.
It was probably 11 years into the relationship before I was like, I want to have a kid. No, I don't want to share you with anyone. So every time it was, okay, let's make a baby. There was one time I looked in his eyes and there was not a human being there at all. Jet black eyes. We were not drinking. There was no drugs. It was like, it felt like a long time. Maybe it was a split second. And then shortly after that, I was pregnant and we were not married yet. And he convinced me it was a good idea to abort that soul. And I don't know, it's taken a long time for me to release that. And I do have 2 children with him after that. But just the fact that, that was a major wake up. I mean, there are many times when he should be worried or sad and he wasn't. It just wasn't making sense. But I can remember his mother had severe dementia, and just him saying, "Oh, I just gave my mom the biggest, most hugest hug, and then she just slipped away." And I thought, like, that struck in me like, oh my gosh, did he squeeze his mother to death? Like, why would I even think that if he wasn't acting like that, right? Yes. Because you forget those things when you're a human being, and you come from compassion and empathy. You kind of forget those things. But that thing kept coming back in my head at times when we would prepare for her funeral. And he's like, let's get a selfie with mom in the casket. What? That doesn't make sense. That's pure evil.
And that's,
one of the other things that really hits me is him buying the spells and the stuff in the shop in New Orleans when we were on vacation with my kids, and then seeing the spells and the stuff that he had was just a weird, evil thought. Because I do like that stuff too. I do like magic and wizardry and alchemy, but it was coming from a different place, and it was secretive and hidden. The more I tried to fix everything with love and light, the more it killed me. It was my physical body that had to take over and say, hey, look what's happening.
You need to stop. Stop. Yeah. There's no end. They want more until you're gone.
Well, and some of them are very, very good at what they do. It's like the devil claims I'm the victim and I'm always right. And, my deviant behaviors, I have explanations for that. And no remorse after the deviant behaviors, no remorse for anything. They're the most important. They're the smartest. It's their way or no way. Yeah. And those are the really good ones.
Where do you think his occult knowledge came from? Do you think it came from previous studies, or do you think it didn't come from him at all?
It's a good question. I've gone back and forth in my mind on it. I feel like, just like myself, he comes from a long past life of demonic behaviors. And he is also being distracted by things, and he could be much bigger as this negative force. So I don't think he's taken the time to research and improve his game, so to speak. I feel like it's all coming from somewhere else, which gives me the validation that, gotcha.
I think that's also where a lot of people get it wrong, right? Where we think, oh, our love can help this person. Our frequency, our light can raise this person. We underestimate what that power is. It's so negative. We will not raise them up. We will fall down.
You cannot force anyone, tell anyone, show anyone anything. Because guess what? If I'm not here, this still goes on without me. You know what? It goes on without me. So why not make it mine right now, right? And I think I've said this before. You don't survive 100% of your hard times to not take advantage 100% of your good times. And we're going to go to the old folk story about the 2 wolves. Everybody has the ability to be as dark as they want to be or as light as they want to be. And the grandfather's talking to the grandson, and there's a battle going on within you. And there's a black wolf representing all your negative and fear and horror and terrible times. And there's a white wolf that represents all your beautiful joy and spirituality. And, they're constantly fighting for your attention and fighting to stay alive, and they just want to hurt each other and just destroy each other. And the little grandson says, well, which one wins, Grandpa? And he says, well, the one you feed, son. So yeah, you're going to feed your dark and your light. But I add to that story, until you need a balance, you're not going to know how or what to feed until you know your own balance that suits okay with you. Because we all have a different moral compass as well. Yeah. Some of us can go all the way to the dark side and come back and be like, yep, thought so. Or some of us can just walk the line and be like, oh my God, just like you're talking about that whirlpool.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I'm buoyant. I can take a deep breath and float on my back and just get right out of it. It's not scary to me. So what happens is, if you have a fear, boom, that's already allowing in a possibility. So be fearless. Every day you take on everything with no fear. I mean, it's hard to do. You know, when you don't know what you're dealing with, you don't know. But channels like this expose that, and you go, oh, heard of that somewhere. Oh, there is no way that it can ever be all dark. There's never been anything written. There's never been anything categorized, documented, ever. So if you think about it, it's kind of a mind twist. Well, it can't be all light either. No, but the light has to exist in order for darkness. But the other way around, not so much.
Yeah.
So isn't it interesting to think that we created the darkness in order to recognize ourselves?
With this whole idea about light and dark, we only truly recognize our light and what we love, which is the light, by having that darkness appear to an extreme. So you have now older children, right? They're in their 20s, right?
20.
Do they know about him as a narcissist, or are they under a spell?
It's only going to be my opinion because we do not talk about very much. My daughter was already out of the house and in college when our divorce occurred, and my son was in his senior year of high school. So we were together for a year. We choose not to discuss it. So I won't say he's under a spell, but it's interesting you say spell because, you know, daddy's girl. And yeah, I can see it clear as day, but I am not the one to force the lessons upon them, because what I know is with consistency, whether it's good, bad, demonic, you know, whatever, with consistency comes reality. And when I was consistent as a mother and my true open self and didn't change, then, you know, they're good human beings. And no, the only thing I know is children are smart. Yeah. And there was one time my son said to me, he said, yeah, I kind of knew from the time he mentioned a trip, and he was like 12 years old at that time, and it was 5 or 6 years later. So it was funny because even though he was a young man, a young kid, they know energy. They know.
I don't know whether you heard, but when you first said the word demonic, my water bottle at that moment made a huge bang.
Here's the other thing. Water is just like energy. It's proven scientifically fact. Not one more drop of water comes, not one goes away. It's all the same water. It's just recycled, changed back down. Okay. You don't grow water. It doesn't come from somewhere. It doesn't create from the clouds. It's just recycled, just like our energy. You can change it. You just can't kill it. So guess what? If it's negative, I'm going to change it. If it's positive, too positive, I'm going to change that too.
True.
What are you going to use? A lot of times we use water because our bodies are 90% water. The moon controls your water. Sound, vibration, all of those modalities help you to heal yourself so that you can think, what the heck? Who am I and what do I want? Yeah. So until you're open to all of that, then you're just going to be paying for a lot of courses that don't help you.
Did you hear that then?
Yes.
Their lack of, I believe, a spiritual center means that they're useless by themselves. They need others. They need the energy of others. And everybody then, like yourself, you have to go up. You have to then be put in a position of being a prop for this person. And when I say a prop, I mean like a stick to literally hold them up. And you are the one responsible, and there's multiple people, but there's main people that are responsible for literally keeping them in their position, You forget then, because they're the ones running the show and you're supporting them, you're holding them up, you forget that all of the power is you. You forget that because you then buy into their narrative that they're everything and you're nothing. And that's the lie that keeps it going.
Huge.
Yeah. And it keeps it going. And in your case, it kept it going for 30 years until your body alerted you that you were in serious harm. Can you imagine? It's like taking a poison, and you're drinking a poison every single day, but I don't know, it's labeled rose water or something nice, and you drink it. And it's not until time goes on do you realize, wow, what have I done?
You're back down to that basic natural self. And I knew nature growing up on farms and, living close to the earth and understanding that I was like, whoa, okay. If this is true, if this is really happening, because when you're so sick and then you go into your spirit, I'm going to jump into my spiritual healing and see if this works because nothing else was working. And like you say, he was encouraging the things that he knew didn't work.
What were they, for example?
Oh, all the kind of biologic medicines and surgeries and a new doctor and, just people who search for things because they have to find something to fix, right? And when I went on the holistic journey and realized, oh my gosh, I know all this, and it started to work, that's when stuff got real and things couldn't be hid anymore in the darkness. Like, I didn't have the blinders on. It's like you open the camera lens. I was a photographer and you're like, whoa, that's been there the whole time. And I didn't know it until I opened the lens. And what comes in? Light, the light. You cannot destroy the light. You can have complete darkness. You light a match, you let your eyes adjust, whatever, you can still see. I mean, you really can. You can still see. It eliminates the darkness. But here's what I know. Until you're at a point within yourself where you're like, wait a minute, I need to listen to me. I need to do something for me. I need to light that match or spark that spark or find a tool to help myself. That negative, fear-based evil force is always going to win because guess what? This is their playing ground that we live on. In order to disentangle myself, I had to do a lot of research, a lot of soul searching, a lot of investigative reporting on myself and things by myself, and honestly, I was already knew these tools. I just never used them. And so it takes that part of yourself too, to realize what tool you need that you have within you to help yourself to deal with this energy or this situation.
What were those tools, if you don't mind?
Bathing with minerals and crystals, a lot of raw earth energy, a lot of researching aromatherapy, neuro-linguistic programming and behavior, tapping, energy work within myself. I don't know. And I think, like you said, the sickness, the illness was my aha moment. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I had a thing like this of autoimmune deficiencies and all these things that no longer exist. And I'm telling you right now, it's been 13 years since I said, this is coming from something within me that thinks that I am sick. And 13 years later, a colonoscopy and all this stuff. And they're like, well, what are you doing? Whatever you're doing, you don't have this anymore. And you don't have that anymore. And this and that and the other. And it's proof to me that we work like nature. When nature dies and comes back to life, that is your hope that here I am sitting in darkness, a spark of light's going to come. Yeah. And you choose whether to grab it or not.
It's very common for people that have been in relationships with narcissists. It doesn't even have to be that long. People can be in it just for 6 months and come out of it sick. You're going to find people that, don't make it because the negativity that's been transferred onto them by the narcissist, because this is part of it, they transfer their negativity onto you. They're using you as a living embodiment outside of themselves as the pain body. And you're going to get it. You're going to get all of the nasties, all of the negativity that they got. It's yours.
You're exactly right. Do you know, in all of my therapy sessions, when they talk about the narcissist, whether it's covert, malignant, it's the same thing. They project all of their emotions and fear onto you, making you seem like the person that is so right on.
Obviously, I believe of these lower astral entities that then are also feeding off of you. And many times then the transference of these negative voices come in to tell you life's not worth living without the narcissist, also all of these lies, or telling you terrible things to hurt yourself, to end yourself. And people unfortunately, they do it, or try to. I want to make people aware that that really is not them. That is literally a transference from a real negative source, which was the narcissist. And of course, the more malignant they become, the heavier in that negativity they become. And the more negative, the more draining they're going to be, the more soul sucking, because this is soul sucking. They're soul suckers.
And they're trying to stay alive, because the more you know, the less chance they have of continuing to be sucking off you. But also, I would like to add, because I believe 100,000% exactly what you're saying. And I'd like to add that you cannot turn to alcohol, drugs, anything that inhibits your mental capacity. Because in my research, those demonic entities can come right in. They do not care who you are. If they aren't getting a source, that's the first thing they go to. So guess what? If you're an empath and a light worker, which is what I call myself, an energy light worker, you are double open field for these people to allow yourself, without all of those filters, to go into your darkest part of yourself, whether it's, no matter what it is, you'll know, in order to understand the lightest part of yourself. And guess what? That can take your entire lifetime. I mean, everyone's a work in progress.
Yeah. We have to dig so deep into ourselves to pull out that light, to reach for that light. And that particular journey is individual for every single one of us.
That's right. And it can be very personal, where you just, or a combination of things. You just get your own self-help books, you self-help, or you can go and do a combination of that, like I did. I researched, and then I went and had an oracle healing, and then I went and had a shamanic healing. I went to a church and had tongues spoken over me, like whatever it takes you. But that, you're right. It's acknowledging within yourself, what do I need? There are some people that it's harder, because I can only speak for myself. A lot of my parental figures were narcissists. So therefore I'm like, well, that makes sense. Now I can say that, because wow, okay, that makes a little bit of sense of why I was duped for so long.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair to blame and shame yourself, because you're living in your past and that never defines you. And then if you're worried and anxious about what if it happens again, you're just living in the future. So when you continue to stay present, which is a very, very hard thing to do, you really get to know yourself, and you get to understand, wow, I'm in total control. And how empowering, because here when we're talking, I'm kind of giggling inside at a few things, like, oh my gosh, how stupid are these narcissists? Like, literally, they will die without me. Like, how empowering is that? How empowering is that within you when you say, oh my goodness, I could live forever.
Yeah.
I'm pure love.
Yeah.
But they can only live when they're doing these horrible, deviant behaviors. Like, they cannot suck me dry. Like, it's like a tick. They keep eating and eating and eating and eating until they pop. What is their purpose?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Spiritual parasite. That's what it is.
Yes.
What do you think was special about you that he wanted to keep you for all of those years?
I feel like he, at this point, is just a minion of something much bigger that was like, uh-oh, here comes one of those beautiful, pure, ready to love the earth and every unconditional love there is. And constantly, he was just one of many. And so I prepare for battle every day, because I feel like at this point, he wasn't just the devil.
Yeah.
Just one of the minions. So I feel like I was very vulnerable and wide open and I'm going to tell you, I can remember explicitly when this man walked into the restaurant, aka my life that I was working at. There was this golden light behind him, and he represented like it was the only word I can think of is a juxtaposition, because I was like, what is that? And then I was like, what is that? Like, it was a very otherworldly feeling, and I knew that there was something going on and that we were meant to be together.
It's almost like an angel walking through the door.
Yeah, it's a dark angel.
Yeah, and you see, this is the thing with narcissists. So many of them, and so many people's stories, and for my own, they show up with so much light, so much shine. They're glistening. Honestly, the people that have the real glow, that really have it all going on, won't ever shine like that.
If we were just as evil as the evil forces, wouldn't we just use that in our favor? Oh, really? You're attracted to the light? Well, come here. I'll tell you one thing. This is one of my favorite topics. And right before my divorce, I was very high on my game. And I would use obsidian discs that are jet black. That looks like you hold it right directly up to your eye and you can see through it. Now, interestingly enough, you can detect natural light from fake light with that. And so that just told me, holy cow, here we are. If we have the right tool, and I'm like, give me two, I need glasses right now. But you can see that in other individuals. And now let's go back to exactly what we talked about before. You can only see it in others when you've already seen it within yourself. I feel like there is much higher power out there. So this is the reason I reached out to Nellie, because thank you for finally talking about stuff that no one wants to talk about.
I know this is a hard question. If there's one thing that this darkness has taught you in these 30 years, what would that be?
That I am stronger than any darkness that will ever exist ever on this earth.